Well, hello guys, and welcome back to another Star vs. the Forces of Evil review. In this episode, we've got the standard 2 episodes, Mathmagic and the Bounce Lounge. Yeah, it's gonna be hard to top last week's episode. It really is, and we'll see how these two live up. So, Mathmagic. It starts off there in math class, right? Oh, they have to solve a stupid problem. Everyone's bored out of their mind. Whoa, math. Yeah, right. It's okay. So something magical is going to happen, right? Mathmagic, right? Star gets forced to come up and solve the problem. But she doesn't know how to solve the problem. She draws a cat on the board, right? She just has no idea what she's doing. In typical Star fashion, she asks Marco for help, but he's useless because he's being Marco. He doesn't want to give away the information. So she admits that she can't solve it. All of a sudden, everything shakes, and then time resets. She's back in her desk, and Jan is telling her this joke, right, about why the chicken crossed the road. And now she's back again, and Jan is telling a little variation. It's this time, before it was to get to the other side, now it's to get to the rooster. Her hat's a little different, and she's forced to go up and solve the problem. She can't do it. Time resets. Boom, we've already got our established plot. We're doing Groundhog's Day. I have no problem with Groundhog's Day. Well, when it's done right. Oh, when it can be done wrong. And this, yeah. So, right, she just keeps resetting the timeline. And it's weird because they're doing right Groundhog's Day. Time keeps resetting, but every time it resets, something changes. And I didn't get why. I was like, why would stuff be changing if we're doing the Groundhog's Day thing? I mean, Jana's hat keeps changing. At one point, we see the classroom, and we see Tom and Fly, right? And it's like, oh, why does this stuff shouldn't be changing? We're doing the Groundhog's Day. And she just keeps admitting, oh, we can't, she can't solve the problem. She tries all sorts of solutions. She tries running away, and it's just not working. So she goes to meet Father Time. He was first season. It was an okay episode, honestly. And Father Time can't help him, doesn't understand what the problem is. So Omnitraxis Prime comes in and is like, oh, Father Time is the Lord of Time. I'm the Lord of Space-Time, but not Time-Space, or he's the Lord of Time-Space, but not Space-Time. It's complicated. Now, we've actually seen Omnitraxis before. He was part of the High Magic Council, with Hekapoo. At the time, though, he was just a crystal ball with, poor reception. Wasn't that interesting? But in this one, I actually kind of like him. I think he has a really cool design. At one point, we go inside his, belly, because he's got this whole galaxy in it. It's just a really great design. Again, a character I kind of hope we see a little bit more of, even though I kind of doubt it. He is the one good thing to come out of this episode. But Star goes into his belly, right, and it's try to figure out why time keeps repeating itself. And Omnitraxis Prime explains that there are an infinite number of universes, right, the multiple worlds theory, and that in every other universe, Star has solved the problem except for her own, and that's why her world keeps repeating it, and that her world will eventually collapse in on itself. The problem here is, that's a paradox. If Star's the only world that cannot solve the problem, she can't be the only world that doesn't solve the problem, because according to the infinite world theory, there is a world in which she doesn't solve the problem. Do you see the problem here? This show actually does not have the greatest record with time travel and paradoxes. The Father Time episode, they just stop time, right? It works. It's kept simple. But then Into the Wand had time paradoxes, and those don't add up at all. I was actually working on a theory about that one, but I got to the ending and couldn't figure out a way to end it, so I kind of put it on the back burner. Maybe I'll finish it one day, but yes, this show does not have a good record with time travel, so doing it again... And right, that's why she, instead of jumping from time to time, she's jumping from world to world until she eventually gets into a world where she does solve the problem, or at least resets her own world where she solves the problem. it's really complicated, right? The paradox doesn't add up. The infinite universe theory does not cover paradoxes unless in a universe where it does cover paradoxes. This is the sort of complicated stuff that dealing with the multiple worlds phenomenon, right? These are problems that it creates. So she eventually, Omnitrix sends her back to her own world, where she volunteers to solve the problem, and she goes up, starts doing it, starts switching between the dimensions because she's convinced, if her other selves can do it, that means she just has to harness their energy to do it as well. Her universe is collapsing in on each other. I've seen people point out, like, in all these different stars, one of them is like a dark star, which I don't honestly think means anything. It's just kind of a little visual gag. It may come back, probably not. Who knows, right? You do get some cool star designs here. And then she eventually gets her solution, 7, and she's told it's wrong, but she at least tried. And that's where it ends. Again, I kind of wish they had just stuck with the Groundhog's Day thing. Didn't bring in the Infinite Worlds thing, and that they could have even brought in Omnitraxis and had him say, like, time is resetting in your world because it's trying to teach you a lesson. It's trying to tell you something that you need to know. If that's what I kind of wish they had gone for that. They didn't have to change everything up. Well, besides for Star's reaction, because again, she's learning from the past timelines, which is one of the most important parts of the Groundhog's Day style story. But yeah, I kind of wish they had just, because the moral, I see what they're going for, but I don't feel like Star actually learned it. I wish it kind of, like they did the Dormammu thing, and it kind of, like the time repeating itself, drove her up a wall until she was like forced to learn it. But in this, no. And yes, this is a filler episode by all means of the word. Oh my gosh. It's just filler. I don't care what anybody says. It clearly is. And yeah, I know I don't really like this one. The other episode is the Bounce Lounge. I think this one's okay. It starts off with Ponyhead, right? She's crying, and it's what's the problem, right? They make a joke about toothpaste. I don't know, but eventually, it's the Bounce Lounge is closing down. Star starts crying, and they're like, "Well, let's go to the Bounce Lounge and find out why." So they meet Millie Sparkles, who runs the Bounce Lounge. And she's like, the Bounce Lounge's dying. Nobody wants to come to it anymore, so I'm shutting it down. And then there's like this wall of photos. They find their old crew. And we see Kelly in there. So yeah, Kelly. Okay, I'm fine with seeing Kelly again. I don't remember I know I didn't like the episode Goblin Dogs, but I don't remember if I liked Kelly in it. I like her in this one, though. But yeah, so they decide, if the Bounce Lounge's closing down, let's try to bring life back into it, right? Let's try to throw an epic party. They go get Kelly. She's broken up with Tad. They go get a dolphin who he's being enslaved by like rabbit pirates, which we actually see in the opening of the show, right? We get a scarf and headphones, which are attached to this weird, just floating like potato. And that's their crew, right? That's the Bounce crew. They go to the Bounce Lounge. They're told, you 5 can't save it. Plus, we also need to pay back the rent, which is like $1 bajillion. So they start partying, right? They start having their epic party. And they start bringing in large groups of people, right? It's all going really well. And they eventually start making their $1 bajillion, right? It's kept vague for a reason. Tad shows up, and he gets back together with Kelly, and I love it. It's like, this is the first place we broke up. And that's how they get back together. So they're clearly in one of those on-again, off-again relationships. I like her in this one, honestly. I like all the Bounce Lounge crew. They're fun, right? And they have to be, because this is a partying episode. So they raise all the money, and then Millie Sparkle shows up and is like, I'm still closing the Bounce Lounge, because I have been partying for 5,000 years. This is killing me. And she's all old, right? It's clearly, she shows her years. She gets on a little, one of those scooters, just rides off into the distance, and it's like, thanks for trying, right? This was your last epic party. And then Ponyhead steals a photo booth, and they all just take their bounce crew photo, and that's where it ends. Again, it's also filler, but it at least was fun. It had energy. That's why it works more than stupid Mathmagic. Well, again, Mathmagic still gives us Omnitrix's Prime, who I still think is kind of cool. But yeah, this was just a filler week. I know we're getting another episode in like yesterday. So yeah, who knows? Maybe we'll get something more interesting. Who knows? But I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Until next time, peace.